Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Baby It's Cold Out There, Aspen, by Victoria H. Smith, narrated by Chandra Skyye and Troy Duran. Noni. Boy, if you don't quit messing around, don't make me fly back home and tear that butt up. Willa had been at her son for the last 10 minutes. The exact amount of time it had taken to get to the bar she'd hyped about. It, amongst the many features of the lodge we'd stayed in, had been the main reason we had chosen Aspen for this weekend getaway, the scenic snowy slopes and its cozy resort, a place of rest and relaxation. So much for the latter. We're supposed to be relaxing, Willa, I told my friend. She'd been my best friend since childhood. The bartender stamped a cocktail down in front of me, a brown one with a cinnamon stick peeking from the top. The hot toddy felt warm against my fingers, and I waved my thanks to the bartender. I pulled it toward me, sighing at Willa. We'd never do anything at this rate, not if she felt she had to discipline Keenan every few minutes. He was staying with his grandma, Willa's mama, and well, needless to say, the 8-year-old always got what he wanted when it came to her. Even eating candy for breakfast. His latest antics had Willa on the phone now, and I lifted my glass, shaking at her in a gesture indicating that we should get this vacation going already. This getaway had been her idea, after all for the purpose of getting me away and out of my head. She lifted her fingers, smiling at me and showing she'd heard me, saw me. But that expression fell the moment sounds of a child came from the receiver of her cell phone. She turned into the call at the bar, shaking her head of voluminous curls over the phone. She wore them bigger than mine, her curls a bit tighter than my curly waves. Mine frizzed to hell, but hers were always on point, gorgeous, with the even tone of her dark skin. Full-bodied and hourglass-shaped, this girl got all the attention growing up. I didn't gain my slight womanly curves until college, but Willa Jean Murphy never had an awkward period. She was always gorgeous and confident. And she knew how to speak her mind. "You know better," she shot into the phone, pointing, as if the air offended her. Her expression pinched. "I see. You chose to get some distance between us before you start talking to me like this. Boy, get your grandmama on the phone." "Your White Russian, miss," the bartender said, placing down a dark liquid served over ice. The creamy layer on top made it look super tasty. He pushed it toward Willa. "Can I get you anything else?" "Keenan Jerome Murphy? If you don't put your grandma on the phone, I'm gonna." The snip had the bartender and half his patrons snapping back, and I raised my hand, trying to assure them everything was fine. Though, in the back of my mind, I grabbed her shoulder. "Willa." "Mama? Mama," she said, escaping my hand and off her bar stool. She lifted her eyes to the resort rafters, a nice white spread of wintry decorations up there, frosted snowflakes and things. Willa palmed her face. "I know you know how to take care of Keenan. What did Keenan tell you? I just don't want him eating candy in the morning. It makes him hyper as hell. And," she groaned, "Mama, I'm not questioning you. There are just certain things I don't want him eating that early. Now, I left a list of things he likes and are okay to eat. Did you get it?" Her face blanched in the next second. "You threw it away?" This made her grab her purse now, sliding it off the bar, and I let the groan escape this time. I tilted my head. "Willa," she lifted her fingers, mouthing, 2 seconds, to me before tucking the phone between her ear and shoulder. She put her bag over her arm. "The list wasn't garbage, Mama. Let me get to someplace quiet and I'll read off what it said to you." Some listening followed her phrase. She rolled her eyes and then took her phone from her ear, covering the receiver before facing me. "Let me just go explain this to her real quick before she has my child bouncing all over the house," she said. "We'll start everything right after that. This vacation." I almost wanted to tell her it was okay. That we could call it and just, I don't know, call it and go back. The odds already seemed against us. My mind wasn't really into being here. Hadn't been since we'd gotten off the plane. And heck, long before that when she'd convinced me to go. I just didn't want to be here. I had too much on my mind. Her shoulders fell upon looking at me. "Don't look at me that way. 2 seconds, I promise. We're going to make this happen. I promised you a good time, and I'm gonna pull through." Backing away, she returned the phone to her ear, the frustrations of what could only be those of a mom on her face as she made her way through the crowded room to take her call. The bar connected to the main entryway of the lodge, and a fresh bunch of vacationers came in with the flurries in the air. She bumped into one and I heard her yell something eerily similar to, "Watch it, jackass," but a little more colorful. She returned her phone to her ear and I smiled a little, shaking my head. My friend was different. Colorful, like I said, but she couldn't pretend even with all the frustration she had with her mom that she didn't love the woman. Her mom was there for her. Impromptu trips like this might not have happened in the past, the two not on the best terms. Willa had Keenan pretty young, and well, that took some time for her mom. Only recently coming around, with Willa and me being in our early 20s. People watching during my waiting for my friend, I caught the lodge's fireplace, a wide berth of breaking logs and roaring fire. Feeling inspired by it, I put my drink down on the bar, exchanging it out for a notepad in my purse. It was already full of text. "Wood fire, shrimp, and grits," I jotted down, my mouth watering at even the thought. I placed the back of my pen to my lips, tapping it before adding, "with white wine for the sauce." I snapped the pad closed, chewing my lip with a smile. The front of the notepad had a piece of masking tape on the front. Recipes for my restaurant. I pushed my hand over the cover. Only one more step before I could actually make all the things in here, create all the recipes I'd come up with over the years, and share them in my own working space. The bank loan was in progress for my own soul food diner, a combination of my mama's southern roots and Dad's New Yorker recipes. It'd be placed right in the heart of Manhattan, the space already picked out. I just needed the money now. Thinking about my dream coming to fruition, I was only broken out of it when those flurries breezed in again, a group of lodgers in their snow boots and gear coming in from the chill. The party was pretty active, a pack of guys with snow on their coats and red in their cheeks. And they were good-looking, like Davidoff Clearwater ad, good-looking, walking in with wind-swept hair and dashing smiles. They all varied in height and build, but one stood out amongst them, a blonde taking off his gloves. Gorgeous like his friends, I took him for the leader. I guess it was something about the way he carried himself. He was solely in the center, smiling, while the chatter went on around him. They also clearly flanked him, in the wings to each of his strides. One of his friends slapped the hand of another behind him, and then shook the blonde's shoulders, clearly trying to bring him into the conversation. Maybe he didn't want to be in it, or need it. I watched him, large hands pocketing his gloves in his parka. His friends danced around him, doing a bro thing I could image with all their excitement. I tried not to stare, but he made it hard, his jaw strong and lips red. They were blood-rushed, rose-colored, like his cheeks. I could imagine he and his friends just got done doing the full experience of Aspen, skiing or snowboarding on the beautiful slopes. They all pushed snow either off them or from their hair. Blonde's hair went messy after he did his, and his glove, falling from his pocket, had him looking down. He dipped to retrieve it, and on his way up, he made eye contact. Eye contact? With me? I looked left, then right. I turned, but nothing changed about the direction in which he stared. Getting up slow, he shook out his gloves, smiling before lifting his hand and waving slightly. He is looking at me. My face went up a full 90 degrees, my body just as warm. Tingles hit my belly, and my heart raced as I lifted my hand, waving too. Asa! Women shouting their way from behind me had me break the connection I had with cool green eyes. At least, a connection I thought I had. I truly didn't, and that confirmed as two brunettes pushed their way from behind me, heading over to the blonde and his friends. They all but ignored the sidekicks, though. They apparently wanted the main attraction, and they got him, his arms going around the tiny waist of one and the shoulders of another. He kissed that last one, a good smooch right on her cheek, and that's when I palmed my face. Christ! I watched the spectacle through the spaces of my fingers, mortified that I actually thought for a minute this guy was looking at me, Mr. Leader of the Bros, Mr. Davidoff Clearwater ad himself. I wanted to cry, but I kept it in, putting my big girl panties on. But then he had to come over. After leaving his friends with a few fist bumps, the blonde strode right in my direction. His friends headed toward a set of couches, settling in front of the resort's large fireplace. They fell into conversation, but the blonde himself? He ended up right at my side, the bar his destination. The tears actually pricked in my eyes now. Sheer mortification, and I actually had to breathe to get myself together. He stood right next to me, smelling like heaven and pine and everything warm and sexy about a man. You really put him on a pedestal, haven't you? I sipped my hot toddy, no longer hot. That didn't stop the burn, though. That sorta happened when it was chugged. The brown liquid traveled down in a fiery gulp, and those tears pricked again for other reasons. Blonde put his hand down on the bar. A round for me and my friends, if you don't mind. Heineken's, on my tab. A true philanthropist, a nice gesture, and probably a nice guy. I wished I had more booze. He didn't even look at me as he waited for his drinks, which made me look even more creepy, as I took notice to the fact that he didn't notice me. I waved to the bartender, wanting my tab. I covered Willa's, too. She said she'd be back, but I wasn't staying. At the current moment, my only objective was getting out of here and recovering some of my dignity. Waiting on my change, I could only blame my response to the blonde as a direct result of my insides, a heart that had been more than messed with in the not-so-distant past. I obviously wanted attention, wanted something, and I'd be lying if I said certain things hadn't brought me here. Ones beyond that of a simple vacation. Ones that made my friend Willa drag me out of bed. I did that a lot lately, sleeping more than I liked. Shaking my head, I thanked the bartender for the service, leaving a few dollars for the tip. You look like a woman who needs a drink. The voice wasn't the blonde's, though. He still stood beside me, waiting on his Heinekens, but the words came from the other side. I looked up to a tower, a lanky one at best. This guy was not my type. Too much gel in his hair, and wearing his mom-made knitted sweater. He also wore cologne that was very much not Davidoff Clearwater. I didn't want attention that badly. I moved to get off my stool. No, thanks. I'm actually just leaving."
"Oh, come on,"
he said, grinning at me. The expression was more than fact and filled with nothing but what I could surmise as intention. He had intentions, ones I had a feeling I wanted nothing to do with. He shrugged.
"You may have had a drink, but it wasn't with me."
And thank God for that. His cologne choked me as he got closer. I put my hand out, my attempt to keep him from making any more steps in my direction. They weren't wanted or welcomed. "No,
"Hey."
Smells of heaven, pine, and everything sexy about a man surrounded me as someone touched my arm from behind. Warm breath touched my neck. He was close, too, slightly above me, as he stood and I still sat.
"Is that guy giving you a hard time?"
he whispered, managing to lean in even closer.
"If so, I'd like to kiss you. Get him to back off. I won't if you don't want me to. Just look at me if you don't."
I was afraid, too afraid to turn around and decline what he said. Too afraid I'd regret it. Still behind me, he squeezed, clearly taking my lack of action as a yes. It was a yes. It was, as he gently nudged me off my chair. Turning me around, he pulled me into his arms, and I floated there, eerily, as if on a cloud. He was even more handsome up close, eyes of a wintergreen color, passionate. His hand went to my neck, and I forgot that guy. I forgot how uncomfortable he made me, and that he was even still standing there behind me. I forgot the original reason I was here, my escape. He folded me into his arms, this stranger, his body a warm hum against mine, and his lips. They melted me, like fire against the icy conditions outside. His parka was open, and my fingers smoothed down what felt like chiseled rock. I think he was wearing Under Armour, and the material moved over his body like a second skin, his chest pure steel underneath my hands. I honestly didn't know what to do with them, my body or my mouth, but it seemed that didn't matter. This guy handled all that, his hands in the most perfect places, intimate while appropriate. Warm lips brushed mine as they parted, and like before, he didn't look at me, just over my shoulder. Apparently, someone had been staring dumbfounded behind me. I knew because I turned. The guy from the bar who hassled me was standing there, stark still with his jaw dropped. The blonde put his arm on the bar behind me. He left space between us like he didn't just kiss me. Close, but not touching. He smiled at my not-so-wanted visitor.
"Who's your friend, babe?"
the blonde asked, innocently, like we weren't strangers ourselves, like we'd been together forever. Folding my arms, I leaned back into him. It felt naturally to play along.
"Just leaving,"
he said, and I watched as what the blonde said, actually worked. Watched as the man walked away. It actually worked. And my lips still burned. I put my fingers to them, feeling that heat. I turned to do what? I didn't know. Should I thank him, or... But it seemed he didn't want thanks, or really anything at all. He nodded at me. Then the bartender with readied drinks got the blonde's attention in the next moment. He accepted them, going about his business to get them together, and I just stood there, as shell-shocked as the first moment I laid eyes on him. I'd felt on a high just a moment ago. I started, playing with the lengthy sleeves of my sweater. I didn't know what to say. But then he faced me, doing that smile of his again.
"Hey, bartender," he said to him, though he stared directly at me. "Get this woman any drink she wants. Again, on my tab. She deserves it after what she just went through. That guy? Well, then me."
I blinked that he actually put himself in the same stratosphere as that other guy. For starters, he asked permission. He requested a kiss. And second, I didn't mind that he had. Dumbstruck, I still had nothing to say.
"What would you like, miss? Another hot toddy?"
I waved the bartender off, finally getting my voice back. "Oh, no, I was just leaving, really." After nodding at me, the bartender went up to the next patron. The man before me, the blonde with the nice eyes, started to go, but on impulse, I shimmied around him. He laughed a little when I caught him. He had a nice one of those, too. "Thanks," I said, because I was thankful. Yes, I was. His eyes warmed, creasing hard in the corners.
"Hopefully, the rest of your vacation goes better for you."
He didn't know, but it had already taken a turn for the better, and it had been because of him. He told me to
take care,
then moved around me, and I didn't try to block his path this time. His friends still sat on the couches by the fireplace, in their own conversations, but the minute he came back, they bombarded him. One of the guys took the platter of drinks, and the girls took him down to the sofa, forcing him to sit in between them. Needless to say, he didn't fight them. Arms going around them both, he settled in, rejoining the conversation that clearly wanted him to be a part. A big group, they all stared at him, listening with every word he gave them. Very popular. And I could see why. Outside of how good-looking he was, he seemed nice, too. A no-doubt dangerous combination. At least it had been for me. Moving to head away and find Willa, my gaze caught something on the floor, something red. I bent, picking up something I hadn't seen in years. I didn't eat candy much, and this item was literally pure sugar. I twirled what I knew to be a pixie stick in my fingers, curious to find such a thing right at my feet. I looked up at the guy who was the life of the party. Had it been his? I didn't dare ask, embarrass myself more. Sighing, I stood up, deciding I'd toss it away at the first sign of trash. No way this was his. He was a grown man, and what kind of grown men kept pixie sticks on their person? Maybe he has a sweet tooth? Whatever the case, I wasn't going to find out. I stepped away. I was going to find Willa, then maybe convince her to rethink the whole vacation thing. Being away did no less to keep me out of my head. So, I might as well be at home.
Asa. I splashed water on my face, the droplets dripping to the sink. Grabbing a towel, I patted my face down, and then took a minute before going back. Back to my friends. Back to my getaway. The towel drying my face didn't catch on the blonde hairs of a beard, and that tripped me up. I'd had one since college, at least a thin one, but on impulse I had shaved it off right before this trip, wanting a change. I figured why not? The impulsivity not much unlike this trip. Tossing the towel on the sink, I left the bathroom, arriving in the sitting area of my suite in the next moment. A room full of dudes and a few girls filled my eyes as they lay displaced throughout the space, filled with warm tones and leather couches. They were pretty much all passed out, some still with the remainder of whatever drink they'd been sipping in their hands, and this was only about half of the group, our group. The rest were down the hall at one of the other rooms I'd booked, it one of 4. I usually took care of things like that if they were my idea. This trip, my idea. I enjoyed Aspen, this place one of my favorite spots to vacation. My brother and I usually liked coming here. Yeah, it was one of our favorite spots. Putting my hands together, I decided it was time to go to bed. I was all partied, all everything out. We'd done a lot today. In fact, all weekend so far. Crossing over bodies, I made the move to get to my room, flicking on the light. I had plans to jump right in, curl up in the wide circular bed underneath wooden rafters. But it seemed like life had other plans. Damn. A set of creamy white legs turned into 2, then 3 when I lifted the covers, and I sighed, drawing my hand down my face. I really hated when these women fell asleep in my bed, taking an invite to my suite as an open invitation to do whatever they wanted when they arrived. I recognized these women. I met them on the slopes today, and they were completely naked in my bed, clearly expecting something. Really not wanting to deal with all this, I dropped the sheet. I just wanted some sleep, some peace. This trip was supposed to get some heavy weights off my mind that I had let get out of control. Although I wanted some company, my friends along for the ride, I didn't want this. I needed my friends beside me. But I needed my space, too. I didn't think twice when I headed toward the closet, intending to grab my luggage. I'd find another alternative to this room and reunite with my friends in the morning. I hardly doubt they'd notice. They were all passed out anyway. After stepping over my college roommate, Beau, I made my way to the closet and then grabbed the handle of the black rollaway, only to find it light, empty. A quick once-over of the room revealed why. Personal items like cologne and other things were arranged nicely on my armoire, a few pairs of my pants pressed and hanging in the closet. I pushed my fingers through my hair. The resort staff must have unpacked me during my time on the slopes today. I guess I had paid for some extra services. Grabbing what I could, I filled the bag and then grabbed the room's phone off its docking station.
"Hello, Mr. Ritchie. How can I be of service?"
The middle of the night and these folks were still cheery. I really did love this place. My twin brother and I used to come here all the time before he got married and had kids. So much had changed in such a short time. My brother, Alexander, had a family now, one completely outside of me. He used to be so much like me, unattached and living life by the moment. But now he was like a new man, a changed man. His wife, Johari, and daughter, Ruby, were 2 of those changes. Everything happened so quickly between him and his wife, and at first I didn't understand it. I didn't get it, but over time I supposed things fell into place. And his little girl, Ruby, was a true angel and actually managed to melt this cold heart of mine when it came to the prospect of having children. I truly got it now. I got my brother now, and I loved that he was happy. I appreciated what he built for himself and his fearlessness when it came to taking what he wanted. He'd gotten sick not so long ago, and once he recovered, he claimed the things he felt he deserved. He did deserve them. He deserved everything life could give him. I leaned against the dresser, the evidence of what I'd built for myself passed out on the floor and naked by the 3s in my bed. I held the phone. "I was just wondering if I could get one of your cabins, the ones off site. I'd like a bigger space, I guess." Truth was, I just wanted some space. Any space. After quickly confirming the cabin's amenities, as well as grabbing a couple more things from my current dwelling, I was in a town car and driven off-site, the tires rushing through slush and the elements flurrying in the night. The area the resort itself resided on was vast and actually stretched across many miles. "Might want to get the fireplace going once you get in, sir," my driver said, turning up the heat from the front seat. His eyes connected with mine through the rearview mirror. "You'll have central heating, but definitely might need that fire. Looks like the weather might be temperamental tonight." The man wasn't kidding. We'd only been traveling for a few miles and the wind cut across the windshield in icy sheets, a vast difference than the light snowfall we'd had when we left the lodge. I nodded to him, deciding the idea of fire definitely wouldn't be a bad thing. Charging on, my driver managed only a few slight skids through the mess. The weather managed to pick up even more, but this man who escorted me was a tank.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?